So Gus Glynn, welcome to Fox Barn Studios.
Thank you.
Great to have you. We've just heard you play, so I want to talk about that song.
Okay.
But before all of that, I want to talk to you about this, the Gus Glynn Roots to Classics.
Yeah.
Because it features the guitar that you've just been playing, and it's an acoustic kind of thing. I want to talk to you about the band as well in a bit later.
Okay, well, Roots to Classics, it's an idea I had for a long time, and I thought it would be an ideal show to put on in small venues like art centres, and that is where it's running at the moment. I've done a lot of shows around the north of England, and it's a 2.5-hour show, and it is composed of folk music that's influenced me from way back. And what I've done is try to create a narrative of how that's developed into some of the acoustic classics that we know today. Yeah. And those acoustic classics are basically things that I play as an acoustic covers artist in the pubs. But I've chosen the ones that I think I do a little bit better than the ones that
always
that
do your best. Generally do your best songs, yeah.
But also that suit that show, that aren't too, it doesn't sound like I'm in a pub, that lend themselves to that intimate environment. Do you know that?
I recognise it, I think. What was it? Because I met you at an open mic night.
Yeah.
And you played, I think you played the song that we're going to play later on.
I did.
And maybe one or two others.
Yeah.
And they're really acoustic-y, kind of folky-esque songs. But your band is not really folky and acoustic-y. So how does that kind of work? Do you write the songs? Are these old songs that you're now bringing to the band, or are those songs written for the band? Because there's two very different styles, and you kind of got two branches of your music, haven't you?
Yes and no. So, yes, sometimes I write for the band. Sometimes I write things I think we need something to really kick the set up a gear. And I will write something for the band. But a song like that is it's quite a personal, intimate song. And it's like got existential themes and stuff. So that song wrote itself. Like, I didn't try to write that song. That's a song that was therapy for me, And the ones that come across strong on acoustic and sound like they're written on acoustic for acoustic would be those ones that tend to write themselves. More an emotional thing rather than an artistic decision or an artistic project. So, but then I find when I take them to the band, something else happens, and usually that's really good, and it has been in the case of that one and some others that I really like to play with the band. And they don't necessarily they're not as rock or blues rock or psych rock as some other stuff we do in the band, but they really help in a set because you bring it down a little bit and then you can bring it back up again. So it gives the audience a breather and another kind of perspective on us. Some people know it from Led Zeppelin's first album as a song called an instrumental that Jimmy plays called Black Mountainside.
I recognize it.
It's a guitar part written by Bert Jansch for a folk song that Anne Briggs used to sing called Black Waterside. And he first put that arrangement together to play with her, and then he started to sing it himself.
Gus Glynn plays and does his own stuff, as you've just heard, by himself, and does the Roots to Classics. But he also plays in a full 3-piece kind of rocky, punky kind of band. How would you describe it? Something like that?
Yeah, it's veering more and more towards blues rock these days. But it's very much follow the muse wherever she goes kind of band. So I never know what genre is going to pop up next, but it does seem to be sitting in generally blues rock, and from that into bits of punk, into bits of soul, and psych rock even,
Is that coming from you, or is that coming from the band? Because is your I'm guessing you started as more of an acoustic musician. And
yes. Yes.
So acoustic guitar is kind of your original.
Yes.
Kind of place.
It is. I mean, like, it's like I say when I'm doing the show, you know, I never identified as a folk player until I came to England, and I wanted to play more folk stuff because I missed it. Because in Ireland, well, from where I come from in Ireland, in Galway, there's a lot of really good traditional Irish music, and I missed it much more than I thought it would. But I did play acoustic guitar as a kid, but I did play a lot of rock stuff, and that's what I wanted to play. But then I did learn classical guitar. So I was able to figure out a lot of the folky tunes and ask folk people, you know, how they played those in dadgad and drop tunings and stuff like that. So I guess I have, you know, from classical, from playing that and teaching classical, there was a lot of experience of playing acoustic stuff. But I always really liked to rock out, and I think, you know, I had it's a good phrase, isn't it? But I used to play in a band when I was like 15 or something, and then I got into classical a lot. But when I was in my 20s and working on building sites in Dublin, I got myself a beat up electric guitar, and I just started bashing it because I needed to do that. And then I started playing blues and stuff. Totally different style. And I loved it, like, because it's so different to classical guitar, which is very technically proficient. But this is just like, make it do things that it doesn't want to do. You know, it's like the Jimi Hendrix thing. You know, it's the wrong chord, but you just make it sound right. And that's been my approach. And I found when I started the band in 2016, myself and Pete, who's been my bass player for all that time, and my buddy. And at the time, 80 was playing drums, and we did a lot of folky and folk rock because that's where I was coming from. But I rediscovered that love of harder stuff and blues and noise, and it's just, you know, been a great fun to be able to discover that and do more of it, you know.
Now, you moved from Galway, isn't it? 20
Yes.
years ago.
I moved from Galway to Dublin when I was 20, so that was 30 years ago. Now you know how old I am. and I lived in Dublin for 10 years, and then I came over here I was almost 30 when I came over here.
Over to Cheshire?
Years ago. To Cheshire, yeah.
I'm guessing the scene is very different from Dublin to Cheshire.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, Dublin is like any big city, you know. It's got its pros and cons. I mean, you know, I've never had a master plan. I really enjoyed busking in Dublin. I used to sometimes, you know, not work for summer and just busk. But I've been very much interested in writing good songs, and I've been trying to do that for a long time. And I don't think I really rated my own songs until I was in my late 20s, and probably the stuff I started writing when I came over here. So I actually found a music community here in Cheshire that was more like Galway, you know, more open to multi-genres. You know, people who would play a folk session one night and play a rock gig the next night, which you don't find as much in cities. You know, people tend to hone it a bit more. And this suits me much better because I'm that kind of person. These variations using the drop D
just keep the pedal
as the drone all the time. Yeah. My wife Imogen bought me this guitar as a wedding present, and I had a guitar of the same make, but I would not have thought to pick up a parlour guitar. And the reason I had a guitar of the same make was I discovered that it had a wider neck, which suits a person like me who's used to playing a classical guitar, or has some experience with a classical guitar. It plays finger style, you know, and it's easier for me to play finger style stuff on that type of neck. But I wouldn't have picked it up, and she bought it for me. I thought, oh, that's a beautiful guitar, and I thought that's going to be a really nice curio to have. And when I started to play it, it immediately became my number one acoustic guitar because I can just do everything on it, you know, because like I say, I play a lot of different styles, and that lends itself to all of them.
And it gives you enough body for a big strummed.
I was amazed how loud it is. It's louder than any other guitar I have as an acoustic. So that amazed me. And apparently that's the thing about parlour guitars, but I just didn't know that.
Well, they're very good. They're supposedly very good for fingerstyle stuff because it's a small body, so it resonates to wood. It takes less energy to make the wood move.
Right.
Because there's less wood. So it should make a finger-picked thing, should in theory sound slightly louder on that than if you're playing a big jumbo guitar. Because you've got a lot more wood to move. And so it just takes a bit more strength to do it. Which is why in general they should sound better strummed, and they should sound better more picked.
I do find when I strum it, I use a light pick, and that seems to kind of keep the balance nice, across the strings. It comes with a little pickup under the bridge, one of those
little thin ones.
Yeah, and connects to it had a little volume control here, which was very helpful actually. The volume control I liked, but what I found was as a finger picker, the first string and sometimes the second string didn't come out in balance as well. And as a finger picker, you really want that first string to come out nice and bright, or certainly as loud as the other strings. So I got myself a Fishman Rare Earth pickup, and they're not the most cheap pickups in the world.
No, but you do get what you pay for quite often.
You really do. I mean, it's a Rare Earth blend, so it's got a humbucker here, and it's got the microphone inside as well. So if you're one of those guys who likes, I don't do this, but the people who like do that stuff, it's brilliant for that because it really picks up the body. But it's also got a bass cutoff so that when you use that microphone inside, you don't get a huge amount of bass boom.
Yeah.
So it's great, and I find that if I can play acoustic, and then when I take a lead passage, it sounds like somebody's playing lead guitar. Like it really fills the space. So I can have a lot more fun at solo acoustic gigs.
Now you also have, because I have to talk guitars, I have lots of guitars, there's guitars all around this place in this studio.
Yes.
You also have a Höfner Very Thin and a Strat.
Yes. Höfner Very Thin, it was the first electric guitar. It was the electric guitar I got before I formed the band and got back into that stuff again. And it actually hung on my wall for 4 years before I could afford an amplifier for it. Tough times, And but like I used to look at it and think of all the things I wanted to do with it, and when I actually could plug it into a proper amp,
That's like those stories where you see the person that walks past the shop for years saying, "I want that guitar," but I haven't. But you went one step further than that and bought a guitar.
Yes. Yes, but I used to play it on like a really cheap thing that I had, but I didn't have the right amp that would bring out, what it needed. Which, wasn't a madly expensive amp, but I couldn't afford it for a certain time. And then I play a Strat as well, and a Strat was built for me. Like it's not a Fender Strat, but it's it's a built Strat with pickups that I like, and it's from a guy who builds guitars in France. It's actually bright for a resonator, the guitar.
It records my sound.
Oh, it does. It's lovely and clean and clear. I did recently buy an Epiphone SG. It's got 3 pickups in it. And I took it off the wall in the shop, and it just did stuff that I've never played like that before. And I thought, I have to buy this. So I did.
Is that the humbucker pickups that did that? Because
it's got 3 humbucker pickups.
It's a very thin, is that a single coil, or is that got humbuckers in it?
No, that's got humbuckers, yeah. So that does all that, like, Gibson area for me. Like, that's got some serious welly behind it, that guitar. And because it's a semi-hollow, and it's got the F-holes, if you turn slightly in the direction of the amp, it will give you all that lovely feedback that you want, So that it's great, and it's great for punk rock, and it's really good for Americana and certain types of blues, and it's
awesome.
Yeah, it's a great guitar.
We could sit and talk all day about various guitars and stuff.
We could.
But we have a 20-minute or so video to make. So,
yes.
Thank you very much,
You're very
Mr.
welcome.
Gus Glynn.
Yeah,
and
very happy to be here now.
Where's the next place to catch you? But, of course, this video could be seen at any point. But generally, you play around the Northwest.
Yes. All the band gigs are listed on the website, which has my solo page on there as well. If there's Roots to Classic shows coming up, they will be listed on that. They tend to be planned often like months and months in advance. So the next ones could be, well, 6 months from now, but that could be now in time.
Who knows?
But who knows? But my website is really easy to find because it's my name, gusglynn.com, and there's band gigs there, there's solo gigs there.
So gusglynn.com is the place to check it all out.
That's the place.
Brilliant. Gus Glynn,
To find out.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Been great.
Here I am, Lady Winter, caught on the hem of your dress. Knew you were waiting, dark sister, couldn't have been anybody else. How I rock, how I roll, like a dinghy on the water. What's this deal I've been sold? Tastes like water, tastes like salt water. Look at me now, Lady Winter, not caught me at my best. Blood is blood, dark sister, and the cause is anybody's guess. How I rock, how I roll, like a dinghy on the water. What's this drag on my soul? I see my father, I taste salt water. Vehicle from one world to the next. If we believe in each other, will there be a connect? How I rock, how I roll, like a dinghy on the water. Never believe in anybody else's code. I see my daughter, I taste salt water. How I rock, how I roll, like a dinghy on the water. What's this deal I've been sold? Tastes like water, tastes like salt water.
think that song, Saltwater, you know, coming here today and knowing the magic that is in this studio, I would like to do more with that song.
Should we do one more and then go from there?
Knowing about the magic that you have in here and some of the vintage methods you have of creating reverb and
the oil tank.
The oil tank, yeah. I'd be interested to work with that, but also knowing your skills as a drummer who's particularly good with acoustic stuff. I think I would be interested in recording a few things just as acoustic and with a bit of ambience and a bit of rhythm coming in and out. And I think a song like that, like Saltwater, would be one of those songs.
Brilliant. That'd be a nice one to do.
Yeah, I think it would work really well in that setting, and it'd be a nice contrast to how it works with the band as well.
Here you have like an interview and business meeting all in one go. That's fantastic.
It's all
That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
So that song, Saltwater, is, I don't think it was necessarily the first song that I heard you play, but it was certainly, you played it that night when I first met you at the open mic.
Yeah.
And I really like the song. I think it's a really strong, interesting, kind of dark, kind of moody kind of song. So where did it originate?
It's not the happiest of songs in the world. I mean, it's not unhappy, but it doesn't pull any punches about, you know, I mean, it's a very existential song. It's about human life, you know, and how sometimes when you're not feeling very happy, you feel like you've been swindled a little bit. But, like, I guess, you know, songs like that there's always metaphor in there, and you're always trying to do something different with the metaphor. So for me, Saltwater is, see, I grew up by the sea in Galway. So that's a very positive thing for me. But it's also, you know, sea life is a journey, you know, and the ocean and the boat and all that. But of course, the boat in this case is a dinghy, which is kind of differently political, if you like. But it's also, you know, you don't fit many people in a dinghy. And so I'm trying to change things up a little bit in something that of well-worn territory for songwriters, you know. And I think I got away with it. Like I feel that that's a success as a writer, but like it's not really for me to say, is it? You know.